remove repeated types with a unique type utility. Our task is to create the unique type utility, which is going to verify whether the repetitions are removed. So we've got a bunch of test cases which are going to verify whether what we get is what we expected. And in these cases, we are limiting ourselves just to tuples or arrays in order to remove the repetitions. However, similar techniques could also be applied. So test 1 is currently returning any, since there is missing implementation, obviously, and whenever TypeScript figures out that there is a compilation error, the result of the compilation error is going to be any, and therefore we've got any in all the cases. However, having the value 1, well, removing the repetitions, this is 1, removing the repetitions, here we've got 1 and 2. Here we do have the repetitions, so the result is going to be 1, 2, 3, just after removing the repeated element. And here we've got 1A, 2B, 2A, 2 and A are repeated, and therefore we've got 1A, 2 and B. So let's start with the first step, that is going to be creating a conditional type which is going to verify whether there is at least one element that we can extract away from our tuple. So let's write whether t extends the condition, whether t extends an array, and of course there would be the positive and the negative branch over here. So what is important when we want to destruct a tuple is that we will certainly use the infer keyword. So we want to check whether there is at least one element, so the array type or the tuple type needs to be non-empty, and there might be also the rest, which we're going to infer as t rest. So basically the condition here is that there is at least one element. So if we have an empty array, that would basically walk out here. So what we're going to do as for now is just to get the t head, and I'm just turning into a union temporarily. I'm going to remove it. So what we've got here is also t rest, and here we can return anyway, like whatever. Just let's take a look what we've got here. So the important thing is that we want to detach the head element, and we can see that one gets detached in all of these cases, so we have what we wanted. And let's proceed to the next step. So in the next step, we actually want to call the unique function recursively. So if we once we have detached the head, we want to make sure that we would detach the head from the remaining. So here what we're going to put is again to put the unique, but we need to call it in some way. So we want to keep on detaching using the trest thing. However, the problem is that we don't have any place to pass the result further to the next calls. So one technique to achieve that is actually to put a new generic, let's call it tResult, which is going to include what is the value that we're going to put. So the value that we're going to put, as expected, this is only because we're expecting an array of certain elements to be there, and for this reason we're going to make it an array of unknown as well. And due to the fact that we're going to pass the value down here, so after the first step, our value is t head, right? But also for the initial call, as you can see, this breaks. And this second type parameter is kind of a implementation detail, so we don't want this to leak. So the whole point is to make it include a initial the default value, so that when we call it from the outside, the accumulator for the final result is basically empty. And of course, since this needs to be an array and t head doesn't guarantee to be an array, like it could be, but it doesn't have to be, so we're just wrapping it this way. So what we can see as for now is that this does get called recursively. However, this is not what we wanted, because in this case, when like all the head elements have been detached, so the array is empty, the thing that we should return, like the bottom case, should be actually passing what is the result, so we can see that, yeah, this is what we get. So For just one element, we return it. For two elements, what we can clearly see is that we're returning the last item that has been passed, because we're not accumulating it here yet. Here again, we're just returning the last item, and here A is the last item as well. So basically it gets overwritten over here because we are not accumulating the results. So the thing is, we are going to use the variadic tuples from TypeScript, which allows us to put what the t result was so far. And since t result is an array, we can treat it as if it was, of course, not an array, but basically the items, the elements of the array. Certainly, in our case, that is going to be a tuple. So similar as we can spread an array in JavaScript, we can also kind of spread the array type in TypeScript, and this is a variadic tuple. So what we can see over here is that, yeah, that's the results. So what we can see over here, that we do actually aggregate and accumulate the items, but when we have repetition, the repetition also gets aggregated, and we want to get rid of that. So for this reason, we're going to slightly complicate this expression where we call the unique type utility recursively. And the thing is, here potentially the head that we have detached, it potentially could have already been included in the t result. So what we want to do here, I'm just going to comment it out, is that we want to check whether does t result include the head already. So if it does, pass only the t result so that we don't pass the thing once again. And if it doesn't, then return both the result. So the thing that we have had before, return both the result and t head, because t head has not yet been added so far. So result head here, and we just need to make an expression, a condition that would actually verify whether the t result includes the t head already. So how can we check what are the elements that we have? And this is t result of number. So here we are basically asking, give me all the items of whether this is an array or tuple, and we're interested whether our head is among them. So let's check whether t head extends our number. So here we are checking whether head is included in whatever is already within results. You can think of this as array.includes. And this way, we are still passing what is our accumulator after one step. So here, without repetition, nothing changes. However, if there is a repetition, for instance, over here, this one, does t result already include it? Yes. So just pass whatever was the result, like this one. And here, when we got 2, is it already included in the result? No, so just include it and pass it further to the next step. And this way, we have elements which remove the duplication. And just the last thing ever that we can add here is to make sure that we don't call unique with something that is just not an array. It doesn't change much, however, it would be slightly unintuitive to be able to call this unique whether we pass something that is simply not an array or array-ish type. But that's it.